All right, Scavengers. Welcome to the Six Scale Scavengers podcast and welcome Fuza Mulaz. So, Chris, episode 21 of the podcast. The podcast is legally able to drink alcohol in the United States. It's a big accomplishment for us, buddy.
Drink up, drink up. Yeah, it's 21. We're getting up there. Love it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's been crazy with fandom, with Endgame. We got a Spider-Man trailer now. We just earlier today got some new releases about Disney just decided, okay, here's our master plan into the year 2027. And we saw where Star Wars fit into that, but it's a good time to be a collector. It's a good time to be a nerd. It's a good time to be part of the Six Scale Scavengers community on Facebook and our ever-growing amount of content. We have so much content, Chris. We were just talking about, like, I can't even keep up with our own content. Steve's doing an awesome job with Scavengers Assemble. Matt and Roy just dropped their first official, air quotes, episode of Rogue One 6th, and they had you on as a guest. And I gave them a little grief because they still don't have a review. It's like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. Is there going to be dinosaurs on the dinosaur tour? But they have reassured me that they will have a figure to review next episode, Chris, so we can crisis averted there, my friend.
Yeah, it was a good time chatting with Matt. It was unfortunate to not get Roy on to talk to, but it's tough to coordinate these schedules. But definitely check out what Rogue One 6 has to offer.
Absolutely, my friend. So let's just get into it. Enough with the small talk here, because we have so much to cover, and we're going to cover news, and we got plenty of news. I love having news to talk about. We have not only a collection update, Chris, we have an epic collection update, the biggest one we've ever had. I'm not even selling that short. And our topic is very timely, I think, because of all of the craziness going on with Marvel fans worldwide. We're going to talk about the phenomenon that is waitlisting and low stock warnings and all those things, and just seeing how people are losing their minds as collectors in the various collecting groups out there. And finally, our feature figure review, our audio review of this episode is going to be Groot MMS 476 from Avengers Infinity War. Chris, I just got that today. I'm really excited to talk about that. I haven't really had a whole lot of time to pose it, but I am definitely, it's right to my right of me right now. I'm definitely appreciating it. And let's get this thing kicked off. So Chris, episode 20, we left everybody with our non-spoiler pre-thoughts about the movie. I mean, let's still keep this a pretty spoiler-free zone. I know Steve and the rest of the Assemble gang went deep into that. You were included on that, but just overall thoughts for our audience of the podcast here.
Yeah, it was just a lot to take in, that movie. Prepared, sat through the whole thing without a break, barely moved, and I was just completely enthralled by that entire movie. I loved it. I need to see it. I've only seen it the one time. Saw it with Raul. Got to see it again. Hopefully we can coordinate to go see it in IMAX. And it's amazing what they were able to accomplish in a 3-hour movie. They packed a lot in, and I loved every minute of it. How about you?
Yeah, it made me even more of a Marvel fan. I was talking to Roy earlier today. We were kind of swapping stories and stuff, and we'll get into our topic and our collection update in a little bit. I didn't tell anybody. I think I may have told you and some others in our private admin chat, but I spoiled the movie for myself, Chris. I have no willpower when it comes to things like that, but that's a decision I make. I would never spoil the movie for anybody else. Anytime I feel like any of my favorite characters are in peril, I did the same thing for The Last Jedi. And it didn't actually deter from the story. And actually, I don't think I knew every single detail. I did have like a big summary of it. But sometimes knowing what was coming, I was able to kind of mentally prepare myself in advance. And I actually, instead of being like in complete shock, I was able to be in shock, but then enjoy it a little bit. And it's funny too, because you can even read a written summary of what happens, but you don't get the emotion of the score and the actual, the acting on screen. I mean, Alan Silvestri, my God, he did masterclass. And it's funny that he first kind of cut his teeth with Robert Zemeckis and Back to the Future. And in this movie, I guess it's a little bit of spoiler talk, but they trashed on Back to the Future in this movie. And I just thought that was pretty hilarious.
It was pretty fitting, putting that connection together. But yeah, the music was amazing. I've been listening to the score.
Got any favorite tracks so far?
Man, it's tough. It's tough to say. I don't have the track names memorized, but definitely the first track on the album really gets me. There's just lots of emotional beats and very deep. He gets into some great stuff, musically and stuff. And I don't know. I just love listening to it while I'm working and that sort of thing. And
yeah, that I think the part where the right before the final battle starts, without spoiling anything, that is epic. The finale and the credit scene when I do have the name in front of me because I have the playlist in front of me, but it's called Main on End. And not only does it combine the main Avengers theme, and I mean it's not even a spoiler, but it's basically thanking the original 6 Avengers with that. But it's funny, Chris. So you and I are both also NFL fans, and the end credit track on the soundtrack was basically, it was almost a ceremony. It was almost like the Throne Room and A New Hope from NFL films. David Robideau, Sam Spence, a lot of the epic music from the 60s and 70s of the NFL films. I mean, those still to this day are just awesome. And the first half of the track is just it's a huge celebration of 22 films. That's really all I can say. So this is by far Alan Silvestri's best, and I love how he altered his own theme throughout the movie and layered in the Captain America theme and a whole bunch of other things. I mean, he is also the person that came up with the Captain America march as well. So Alan Silvestri, my friend, I'm a huge fan of soundtracks and movie soundtracks in general, but he definitely cemented himself as one of the best with this effort. No question about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they just don't think of the Marvel movies as those big theme soundtracks and stuff like that. The scores aren't really highly regarded, but I think when you sit down and really listen to them, you can really pick up the nuances that Silvestri and all the other composers put in there. It really is a huge accomplishment that he did with this score. But yeah, anyway, I mean, it's just great to listen to, and it really complements what's going on screen very well.
Yeah, I can't really say it any better. So we didn't stop there. Fandom goes on. It's not the end of the MCU. The MCU still keeps going. I don't want to talk specific about the trailers here, Chris, but we got the Far From Home trailer. This dropped yesterday on Monday. The Russo brothers basically said, hey, everybody, you've got 2 weekends to go see it. The online spoiler ban is lifted. I know people have been spoiling it for people just because they're horrible and whatnot, but the directors have officially said, okay, it's okay to talk about it. But the reason they needed to do that was on Monday morning, we got the next trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home. And if you didn't see Endgame, and even Tom Holland started it off, and he's like, hey, everybody, if you have not seen Endgame yet, please don't watch this trailer because there's some huge giveaways. And I can't wait. I mean, just when I thought like it was wrapped up, and, I was talking to Roy earlier today, we're kind of like, I feel like the Infinity Saga, Chris, is going to be like our generation's original trilogy that not saying like the new stuff can't be just as good, but we'll always fall back to this 22 movie arc. It's just incredible. I mean, what it's able to do, and they're not resting on their laurels. That's all I got to say. If you've watched the trailer, and it's still full of all the emotion, so much of it is still so fresh. I'm already looking forward to Chris for these releases for Hot Toys for Spider-Man. Just give me the Spider-Man.
Marvel's got the pedal to the metal, man. They're not slowing down. They're just keeping that momentum going, and you can clearly see that with this trailer that dropped for Spider-Man: Far From Home. I I was just as excited watching this as I was so many of the other movies, and we only have to wait a couple months for this movie. It's pretty nuts, and we'll discuss over the next few months what we could potentially expect from that movie, let alone what other figures we could still get from Endgame. But yeah, I mean, not only that, we have more news to talk about. Disney decided to let us know that, hey, we're going to take a little break movie wise with Star Wars, but expect a new trilogy to come. And what are those dates that we're going to see new Star Wars movies?
It looks like 2022, 2024, and 2026. It does look like we're going back to the December releases, which I feel like that's where Star Wars does best. I mean, I feel like Star Wars are kind of synonymous with the holidays now. I mean, Solo was the one that kind of broke that. But I mean, we don't know. We don't even know anything about it. We don't know if it's the Game of Thrones guys and their names are escaping me right now. If it's going to be their trilogy or if it's going to be Ryan Johnson's, or are they going to be both trilogies running at the same time, alternating? We don't know. I do like that they're taking a little bit of a break because I think The Mandalorian needs some time to shine. And everybody I've talked to and all the podcasts and stuff that I've listened to, people are just over the moon excited for that. And from what I've seen, and I know Matt apparently found some footage that I have not seen, but even hearing his verbal description of what it is, and you were at Star Wars Celebration, you heard some of the buzz. I think it's appropriate to let kind of the Skywalker saga have its time before they go digging into something else. And we don't know anything about it, but I think it's going to be a good thing. I think the constant flow of movies for Star Wars, I think Star Wars fans are a lot more demanding than Marvel fans. We talked about this last episode as well about how Marvel fans are more accommodating. We do nitpick things, but because we have so many movies and they're all within the same continuity without really any major issues, and they're able to draw on 80 years of stories, there's a little bit more of a blueprint where Star Wars, and I feel like I hate to say this, Chris, but I feel like they're kind of making it up as they go along. And as I was talking, I keep going back to, I had a really lengthy conversation with Roy earlier today. I don't think you would disagree with this as a Clone Wars and Rebels fan, Chris, but just put Dave Filoni in charge. Just let him be the Kevin Feige. That would help. I know he's involved and he's been involved with a lot of the movies, but I think there needs to, and the story group is great. Don't get me wrong. They've helped a ton with all the new directors and stuff to kind of keep things continuity wise mostly making sense. But I think I really do hope that with the new trilogies coming up that they can kind of just break off of having any ties to the past. That could be a really good thing for Star Wars.
I couldn't agree more. I think Filoni is the man that should be in charge. I've been able to finally watch some of the panels and really take in everything that was said. And Filoni, between the Mandalorian panel and the Clone Wars panel and the different interviews and such, he knows what's going on. He knows what's to do. He knows that there's so much at stake with these different properties that you really got to nail it with Star Wars. And I think the reception that the Mandalorian has been getting with the nostalgic nods and the look and the feel, that there's a delicate balance with putting out new content, but also giving that nod to what came before. And Star Wars fans really, it is a small little area that the vast majority of fans really, that's what they want to see in their Star Wars. So I think giving it the movies a break for a couple of years, focusing it on the TV, Mandalorian, Cassian Andor series, Clone Wars, Resistance, these other properties. I think that's good. Just building on the universe and the galaxy, and we got some time. We got some time to for them to get everything squared away with those feature films. But I'm excited. I love Star Wars. I love all the content. We were just talking, all the books that have come out. I'm so far behind, trying to keep up. But there is a lot of good content to fill up that free time.
Definitely, there's no shortage of that whatsoever. So, Chris, let's get into news. And I thought we'd have more Endgame figures to talk about now. I feel like with the embargo that the Russo brothers had not necessarily enforced, but they, even though there wasn't an official spoiler ban, like they lifted it, I think because of the trailer. But we've only got two new figures that have released since our last episode, and they just as it normally happens was like right after we published the last one. So on April 25th, I believe was the date, we got a double whammy. That was we'll go through each one of these, but Chris, we got the Endgame versions of Captain America and Black Widow, DOPO day one pre-order.
Oh yeah. Yep, same with me. I mean, those are definitely the figures that qualify as some DOPOs.
All right, let's get to Cap first, because I mean he's near and dear to my heart, and I think all of our listeners know that as well. I'm only about 30 minutes into listening to the Assemble from this past week, and I have already heard my name referenced several different times in reference to Cap. So I think people know they know where my allegiances lie. So let's talk about that figure first, Chris. So it's going to be MMS 536. Going to retail for $274. I believe the release on this is between April and June. I should have that in front of me.
Yep, April and June 2020. So we got like a year.
Thanks, Chris. So April to June 2020 is what we're looking at. This just looks like the definitive Cap. We had a feeling looking at a lot of the merchandising type things that we had seen. I think all the Hasbro figures and stuff, I think they got sold a bag of, well, I don't know what they were doing. Like every product they've come out with doesn't look anything like the film. All the suits and stuff don't even look anything like it. But this, not only is it the definitive Cap, it looks like what he does, the chainmail from the comics. The head sculpt's gotten a little bit of debate. Everyone has kind of said it is the Age of Ultron one, just with a different paint. I'm not going to display him without that. I want him with the helmet look. Chris, I think the one thing, and I don't know, this has been pretty, I wouldn't say necessarily hotly debated, but I've seen a lot of different things. I've asked people that have seen this figure in person at Secret Base, the shield. I don't know if it's die cast. I've asked somebody that has seen it, and I'm like, is the shield die cast? And they're like, yes, but then the other ones, I don't know, it could be plastic. And I guess, is it the worst thing in the world? Probably not. I think the shield from the stealth suit, not the stealth suit Cap, the shield that was basically the reissue of the Avengers 1 figure that they used for the stealth version of the Cap from Civil War. That doesn't necessarily look plastic, but it definitely is. So I don't know. What do you think, Chris? I mean, it looks shiny, but then the other one looks shiny and it's plastic.
Right. I'm looking at images right now. I have a feeling that it's going to be plastic. And I know a lot of people are not too crazy about the price, at least from Sideshow. if that is a plastic shield. Uh, you know, for me, I would like to have a diecast one, but then again, if it's painted really well, then I'm not going to complain too much. So I guess we'll see. The other thing is we've got a couple mystery accessories, and we debated those options on the latest assemble. I don't know. Do you want to kind of speculate as to what those might be, or do you want to?
Yeah, we'll leave it to the Assemble gang.
Yeah,
It's just another reason to go check that out if you
yeah,
haven't yet. But I think we're all thinking the same thing. And
yeah.
I literally lost it with that scene. I knew it was coming, and I couldn't contain myself.
I
It was
know.
like, and it was even better than I possibly could have imagined. So,
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
like, if this shield is plastic, it's not going to be a deal breaker. And I'm looking over as we're talking here, and I do have quite a few of them that are the diecast, and obviously it looks better because it's got a little bit more heft, but it also is difficult to sometimes pose. And I feel like with some of the poses that they have here, it's it's pretty clear that it's probably plastic. As long as like the straps and stuff underneath, they usually are metal. And if you look carefully on the back end of some of them, you can still tell that the brackets are metal. And those, if you look carefully, you can actually like take a pair of tweezers and so you can open them up so you can actually have. And I'm so careful about doing that because I've actually wrecked one of my shields. I can't remember which one. I think it was the Winter Soldier stealth one. I need to end up regluing that. I just have it resting on his back right now for that figure. So I don't know. Regardless, it doesn't make or break the figure. It just looks fantastic. The suit material and everything. I think if you were Captain America, you know, you were waiting for a Captain America, like this is definitely the one to get. I know we've kind of directed people over the last year or so to getting the concept one from Civil War, which still is a fantastic figure. But this is it. If you are a collector, you only like to have one version of a character. That's not me. I like to have multiples. I don't mind multiples. Like this is the Cap.
Oh yeah, this is definitely the Cap. This is very iconic, and just looking at the accessories that you get, okay, yeah, we know that the prices have obviously been going up over the last couple of years, but if you really look into the accessories, I mean, we've got two different head sculpts, we've got three face plates for the masked version, and then you have a separate helmet that he can hold in his hand, which is pretty cool. I don't have they had that before? I might be
Yeah, no, they've had it before.
okay. All right. So, but it's nice to have that. And then you've got his little compass with picture of Peggy. I know some people have complained about the scaling for that. When you look at the real picture of him holding it, it appears to be a lot bigger. You know, beggars can't be choosers. And then you've got the regular hands, you've got the shield, you've got the accessories, additional ones coming. I mean, I think the price seems to be pretty much right. Give or take 10 or $15 if that
I
shield's.
think the accessories are going to make up that
Yeah.
difference. I think any quabbling about that, it's going to be pretty clear that that's where the difference is going to be made up. So
Yeah. I mean, you have options to display, and you have so many options that you can come up with. So I don't know. Great figure. I'm looking forward to it. It was awesome in the film. Yeah. It's just whether or not we see any more potential versions of Cap made into a figure. We'll see.
so Black Widow,
Yes.
sculpted hair, baby. Day one pre-order as well. We just mentioned that a little bit ago, but it definitely could also be the definitive Black Widow. I mean, again, if you were waiting on a Black Widow, this is a great one. I still personally don't mind the Infinity War one, and I think I've talked about it. I think adding some hair wax to kind of curb the poofiness of her hair, I think makes it a to me a very desirable figure. I know a lot of people are still trying to unload theirs, and I think also seeing this one's on the way. I think if you strike right, I think you can still get a pretty good bargain on that Infinity War Black Widow. Yeah, obviously I was going to get this one regardless. I love the character. the the one thing I'll say, Chris, is, and I don't think it's too terribly spoiler, like I don't recall her really in this outfit all that much though.
Yeah, I need to see the movie again.
Yeah, so I think there is one section where I think she is wearing it. I think having the suits that were in all the trailers and stuff, the quantum suits and stuff, I think that kind of skewed things. I hope we don't get any of those. I mean, like they were important to the plot, but I don't want a whole row of all the characters in their quantum suits. I mean, it just wasn't that. It was a plot device, but it wasn't necessarily something that I want to have in my collection.
Yeah, I at this point, having seen the movie, I don't think that we'll see them because it would be a huge investment for Hot Toys to go that route. Maybe a convention exclusive for a particular character, we'll see. But I couldn't see myself going for a full line of them. Maybe a completist would, but I just as far as this Black Widow goes, I mean, when you look at the Cap, the version of Cap, you say it's like the ultimate version, for the MCU. It's also a very iconic look. The same goes for Black Widow with this look. It's a very similar look to her classic look from the comics. And it combines that with the MCU version. I think it's just, if you're going to get one Black Widow, it's probably going to be this one. I think the sculpted hair looks just amazing.
Drink.
Yes, right. And then, but you talk about the Infinity War one. The Infinity War one compared to this one looks so different that it's like you have that difference in appearance that can give you a reason to have two different versions. You can have them in different displays and that sort of thing. But I love this look. I think they knocked it out of the park, at least with the prototype. And yeah, I really, really like this figure.
All right, so I personally think we're going to start to see a slow trickle. I think it happened with Infinity War. There was like the initial wave of characters, and then once the film was out, then we started getting the Doctor Strange, the Hulkbuster, and a lot of those others. So I think there's still more on the way. I think having seen the film now, I think there's definitely room for several more. And I can't wait. I'm a Marvel zombie, as the term goes.
Yeah, I think we both are pretty hardcore.
All right, let's talk this. So this, we don't talk about this often, and I feel like ever since we've had the podcast and we're now on episode 21, the reissue figure. I think the only one that we had ever seen before, I think, was the Mark 43, which was only really because they were going to be reissuing the Hulkbuster, which was the other one. I don't necessarily know. The industry and the community is calling these next two figures, Chris, as a reissue, but I personally don't think they're really sold out and they just had the opportunity to continue making more. But we're going to get reissues of Thor MMS 474 and then the Mark L, who everybody here in the United States doesn't even have it yet. They're going to get even more of that. So that is great for collectors. I think there's still a demand for both figures. And it's funny because the Thor figure sat around, and we're going to talk about this with our topic this episode. That Thor figure was around for a while and it was available in stock, I think. And as soon as I think a lot of had to do with the film coming out with Endgame. And I think, again, Thor just stole the show again. And I think people are just really want to have that version of him. So it went like low stock to waitlisted to waitlist full on Sideshow, and then boom, like a couple days after, they said that Hot Toys on their Facebook page are like, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna do a reissue, more to come." And then Sideshow immediately updated their website, and a lot of our scavengers were able to add it and able to get it, which I personally think is great. I know a lot of people would argue that having limited quantities of something kind of controls the price, and the secondary market really drives desirability of figures and stuff. But for figures of new collectors coming in, for things that are movies, I mean, you can watch Infinity War on Netflix right now. A lot of people have it on Blu-ray or 4K. or on iTunes or whatever it is, you can still watch it, and now it ties directly into Endgame. Somebody that might just start collecting now would be pretty bummed the fact that they can't get a Thor. So I think it's pretty smart for Hot Toys. I don't think they're going to do it for all these figures, but like really popular core characters, I don't think they're going to struggle to sell these. I don't think it's going to deflate the market to the point where it's going to really curb any of the demand. I think it's just going to help meet some of that demand. I think prices will come down temporarily, and then they're going to shoot right back up.
You said it. They're key characters that play a major role in two of the biggest movies of all time. So I think it's good. It's good business for Hot Toys, obviously, because they know that there's the demand there, and they know that they'll sell product. But it's good. It is good for the collectors that kind of maybe thought that they could hang tight as far as purchasing these figures. Gives them the opportunity now. I like it. I'm not too worried about it. I think the big thing is they are key characters. I don't think that they would really do this for some of the secondary characters that they have produced in the past. So again, it's kind of a new territory. I think people have, we kind of see what the pulse is with the community and what they think. And right now it's a little bit mixed feeling by some people, especially people that do look at that limited quantity. They look at the values and everything of their collection. I don't know. We'll see. I have those figures. Well, I have the Thor and I've got the Mark 50 on pre-order still. Actually, get delayed. Get delayed till June now. I had one more payment left and get delayed, but good for them. Good for the community.
So speaking of getting emails and stuff, so Chris, I got to ask you, because you sent me it in the message the other day, and I got slightly jealous, but you got an email from Sideshow recently.
I did. I was actually really surprised to get this email, and it said Black Panther is ready to ship.
I was like, yeah, it's not April Fool's anymore. That's what are you talking about?
I know, right? So yeah, I had one partial payment left on him, and the payment hit, and he's in the mail. So he should be here next week sometime, and it's kind of a miracle. And people were asking on some of the other groups, like, what's going on? Anybody getting Black Panther emails? I'm like, I kind of like, message, I got one. It's like very random, very random. But I did, so like I pre-ordered Black Panther last February. So, I mean, it was one of the first few figures that I pre-ordered when I started collecting. So it's not like I just pre-ordered him recently. It was last February. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for that figure. I have held back on getting the Civil War Black Panther, and yeah, start that Black Panther collection going, get those other characters coming.
Yeah, no, it's great. And now knowing that I was originally one of those early adoptees and then canceled my order and redid it, I'll probably see my figure like next year sometime.
Yeah, probably at this point.
So you found another interesting tidbit, Chris, and I did not see this. So what's this update that you saw on from JC Hong?
Yeah, JC Hong on Instagram posted a picture of a 3D rendering of Paul Rudd's head. And I was like, oh man, what's this? So in his description, he said, finally got Paul Rudd's approval for the head sculpt. And you notice it's blurred out on Sideshow's or Hot Toys image of all the accessories and everything. So hopefully they can get working on that, and we'll see maybe some pre-production images of that sculpt going on. But that figure isn't set to release until later this summer or early fall. So good timing for that. And hopefully we don't see any delays for production on that figure. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm eagerly anticipating my Ant-Man and my Wasp figures. So very key. Ant-Man was very key in Endgame, so it'll be nice to add that to the collection.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that can sit there and be enthralled with the horrible plot from Thor: The Dark World, you're a hero in my book.
Awesome scene.
uh, so we touched on this last time, and we didn't know how much longer it was going to last, but it's still going. Chris, the fact that Sideshow is just they're just sitting there dealing out $25 coupons, promo codes for everybody that orders a Marvel figure, and as we'll talk about with the epic collection update, like I took full advantage of this. I haven't, well, I will say though, I haven't gotten anything pre-ordered since last week. I do have one more coupon waiting to use, and I'm hoping I can use it on a couple more Endgame figures, but I don't know. Chris, what do we think? I mean, is it like an intern that forgot to turn off some code on the website? Is it because they were losing a lot of people to Big Bad Toy Store? They losing people to overseas sellers? Like I said, I'm going to call it what it was, and probably the third episode in a row I've mentioned this. It's essentially free shipping.
Yeah, I really hope that it was some intern that left left that activated. It'd be hilarious, not for them, but for us, it's pretty awesome. It's just like the gift that keeps on giving, man. I didn't want any of these to expire, so I made full advantage of them. I still have one sitting there. I've got a few weeks to wait on another release, and we'll see if it keeps going. I think that you're spot on. I think that Sideshow really had to entice people to order these figures because, like we've been seeing, there's a lot of figures that are in stock, and I think there's the most figures that were in stock the last couple months than I had noticed all for the last year plus. And as we'll discuss in the topic, I think people really have jumped back on board with purchasing figures. But I think it's awesome. It's free shipping plus a little bit, depending on where you're located. And for us that live in New Hampshire with no sales tax, we can, put it towards the balance of the figure. So it's great. I love it. And I know a lot of our members on our group, they really took advantage of it too. And yeah, we'll see how much longer it goes on for.
Sorry, I was just counting up how many times I was able to use the code since our last episode, and it's absurd. So let's get into it. Let's talk about collection update.
Okay.
This is almost like a year's worth of updates here, and it was ludicrous when you and I were putting it together. And I was like, this is crazy. I didn't even think, not that I didn't think it was that bad, because obviously I do budget everything. So as I kept updating my budget, I track it on my iPad, just because I have my iPad or my phone around with me, and I can kind of just constantly know about where I stand. And I had, through selling a whole bunch of stuff recently, and I'll talk about that as well, and then also forecasting out through the end of next December, knowing basically of what I can comfortably set aside and be able to do, and knowing that I had been saving a bunch, knowing that the onslaught of Endgame was coming. So all of that coming into play, knowing that we're getting some of these Infinity War figures soon, we're getting Endgame, and I'm just like, all right, it's on. Let's do it. 9 pre-orders, Chris.
Whoa.
Yeah, nine in a less than 2 week span. I'll be brief on 2 of them because we've already talked about them. But the Captain America and Black Widow from Endgame were the next 2 figures I got after our last episode. That was a given, and we were joking in our admin chat, like I made the mistake of putting them both on the same order, but I was using one coupon, and then I had a whole bunch of reward points that I had put towards them. So I didn't feel that really bad, but if I had done them individually, I probably would have got another coupon out of it. Who's really going to complain too much about that? So then from there, and this was after seeing the film, I decided that I wanted the War Machine. I know we talked about that debate last time out. Got another coupon. And I was like, and I had just watched Infinity War right before going to see Endgame, and I was like, I don't have a Groot. Well, looking at the website with free shipping and knocking $25 off the price, I'm like, I can't really say no to that. So that obviously is our future figure review. I do have that in hand. That's technically not a pre-order. That's one of the nine that I was just talking about. Okay, I didn't settle for just one War Machine. So War Machine Mark IV from Infinity War. Talked about the Wasp. Talked about Ant-Man. Then I went for the big boys. I think, and this was a debate that
Oh,
this is a debate that we had on our group and trying to decide which Thanos to get. And you know me, I've been debating this probably for 4 or 5 months. And I really wanted to be able to see Endgame to find out like what I want to do. And I just prefer the Infinity War one a little bit more. I do hope there's a couple things they change about the Endgame figure to make it a little bit more screen accurate. Mainly involves the gauntlet. But that being said, I just love the fact that Infinity War is basically his film. So I have to figure out a way to jerry rig one of my DTOFs to handle this and another figure I'm going to talk about, or finally go and get a Billy case and figure out how to wire that up. But that's on the way. And then Hulkbuster Infinity War. I was like, I'm only one Infinity War figure away from having the set. I know Steve likes to have his ensembles, and I'm like, and I looked at it, I'm like, I can do it. I can do it. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. So I did it.
you definitely did it. That's nuts, man. That's hardcore. That's some serious collecting going on there. No,
But
I
the good
love it.
thing too is, and I will say though too, it sounds as absurd as it sounds. It was all within means because of proper, just meticulous budgeting to the penny for shipping and everything and non-refundable deposits. And then one of the other reasons why I was able to do this too is we talked about it last time out was I've sent a whole bunch of my Star Wars collection down to the state of Pennsylvania to our buddy Mark, and I, Chris, said you were. I kind of quizzed you this morning. I said, "All right, how many Star Wars figures do you think I have left?" And you guessed one. I was like, "Well, I got three." So I ended up selling my Luke, A New Hope, my R2D2 from The Force Awakens, Luke from The Force Awakens, Rey from The Last Jedi, Rey and BB-8 from The Force Awakens, and finally a review figure we didn't have that long ago, but Luke from The Last Jedi. And I feel like I channeled my inner Thanos here, Chris. The hardest choices require the strongest will. And it's not that I don't, again, part of my conversation with Roy today, it's you and I can talk Star Wars for the best of them. I mean, we're not going away. I mean, I do love Marvel a little bit more right now, but I love collecting the Marvel stuff more than the Star Wars stuff. And Roy made a point, and I'll paraphrase kind of what he said, but he goes, I give you credit, I give Chris credit, and I actually give Matt credit because you guys are basically focusing on one side of the equation, but you know equally how good the Star Wars figures are. And Matt will know how good the Marvel figures are, and being dedicated to focus to like mostly one side of that says you realize that the other stuff is good, but it takes a lot of willpower to say no to the other stuff, basically. And I think that's part of just being transparent here as hosts and evolving as collectors. And I know Gare Bear, he'll probably love the shout out here, but we had posted our last episode, and he's like, he really appreciated the fact that we were saying it's okay to love something and not have to collect it, because he was kind of going through that with his own Star Wars collecting thing. And I think it's important that we're all kind of here for each other as collectors, as part of this community.
100%. It is, when you know how good the product is and to not dabble in it, it is difficult, but you got to kind of keep things in reality. We don't have the reality stone. We can't manipulate the way things really are. And to try to do both, you potentially going to have a couple still Star Wars figures still remaining. I'm not shutting that door completely. There's still a couple figures that have yet to be released that I may add down the line, but it's just it's staying true to what really resonates with you for collectibles. Like you said, we talk Star Wars all day long. I was last night. I was reading Star Wars comic books. You know, it's like instead of watching a show or something, reading the comics and just absorbing content and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's good, and the fact that you were able to then translate those sales into pre-orders and figures come down the line. That's what it's all about, and that's what it has been for me too. I've been selling like crazy over the last year or so, and I just sold a ton more Marvel Legends figures, and it boggles my mind that I'm able to sell like 5 Marvel Legends figures loose, complete, and like be able to buy a Hot Toys figure. It's just, it is kind of nuts. And using that collection as currency to get the figures that are next level, and that's the way to do it. Not to say, some of the income doesn't go towards, some of the figures and some of the pre-orders and that sort of thing, but to be able to use the majority towards those purchases is key. And I don't think either one of us will repeat that performance that you just had.
No, it'll never happen again. It just was the perfect storm of all the coupons and me purposely setting aside and just being able to liquidate a good chunk of my collection. And Mark was just so thankful for a lot of it because he's like, I owe my collection basically to you. And I told him it was a win-win because I'm so glad that they have a good home now, and I know he's going to take awesome good care of them and enjoy them. And I it was mutually beneficial because I cut him some really screaming deals, but it was, again, we're not here to extract all this money out of it. Like, I'm not going to, I'm not going to scalp my friend. I'm just like, it's not going to happen. So knowing that, I just was like, I need to kind of make some space, change of focus, and basically having a figure that's going to be new to him. It might as well be new. I mean, the condition I keep everything in is pretty immaculate, if I do say so myself. And yeah, I think that's just important as collectors, is just being willing to move on. And I think, if anybody else is really kind of struggling with that or wondering it, I know Mike, he just, he won the Cap Infinity War figure from John's Tashi Station group, and that was kind of the falling down the rabbit hole a little bit. And he's kind of dabbling a little bit more with Marvel now because he's always been Star Wars, which I love. But everybody was there to kind of quickly give him advice and just be like, it's great, but just be careful, stay within your means, get what you love. And it definitely, you can tell that he does love the stuff that he's getting. And he was one of those guys that was able to get one of the Thors, and just very happy for him.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to help a fellow collector out. And again, like you said, it's not always about getting as much dollar value out of it as you can. It's helping somebody out. And it is for me, like, if I sell something and then somebody's like, "Oh, I didn't know you had that for sale." Like, I'm like, "Oh man, I should have just, let them know about it." So it's good to pass on that piece to somebody that is really going to cherish it.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Yeah. Let's hear your update. I mean, you're not going to be able to compete with mine. No. But it's not a competition between you and I either. So.
No, it isn't. Like you said, like we talked about, those $25 coupons. I had one. So I made the mistake of pre-ordering multiple figures at once and realizing, yeah, I probably should have broken it up, but I ended up getting the Cap from Endgame, Black Widow from Endgame, and then also Mark VI War Machine from Endgame. And then after ordering those, I got another coupon, and I was looking, and it was so funny because, like, both of us, like, literally were like, I think I need to order Groot from Infinity War. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't realize we were on the same page with that. But I ended up ordering him too. And I had started him out as a payment plan. So I don't have that in hand, but he is coming. later next week. So I'm looking forward to getting that figure. Hopefully, no issues with the joint in the legs, but we'll tackle that if it happens. And then, so those were my 4 pre-orders. And then there's one other figure that I have been looking for a long time. Like a lot of us, it's a key character that has yet to get a release. There was a release teased for Infinity War, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. And I really wanted to add a Falcon, and you and Steve had found pretty good deals, and the timing wasn't right for me. And then it was really weird. Like I was listening to Collecting Weekly, and one of the guys that was on there was talking about that he was going to be selling off some of his Marvel stuff, and then he posted a bunch of stuff on one of the groups, and his price was really good for the Civil War Falcon. And I'm like, shoot, I can't pull the trigger on it. I can't get it. And thankfully I have a really good friend and co-host here, and he snagged it for me. And I was very, very happy. And I have yet to pick it up, but hopefully here on our endgame viewing, we can have a little exchange. But I'm really looking forward to having that figure in hand. It's one of my most anticipated figure purchases in a long time. So thank you, friend.
Yeah, I just couldn't let it go. And you were getting ready to go to Celebration. This was probably a couple episodes ago too. So, this is something we've been sitting on for quite a while. And again, talking about just proper budgeting and stuff like that, I was able to, basically get it, hang on to it for quite a while, and it didn't hurt me at all. And I knew, and it was funny because it was only like a week after I'd gotten my own. So I basically got like 2 within like a 1 week span, basically. And I'm like, this deal is not going to come up ever again. And I'm like, just because like you couldn't physically do it at that point. I'm like, I got to do this. If it was probably like any other figure, I'd probably be like, I just can't swing that. But like it was, I got to do this. I got to do it.
Yeah, no, I was very appreciative for it, and definitely have not in the last few weeks have not seen one even close to that price. So yeah, I'm very happy. And watch they'll drop an Endgame Falcon like this week. But yeah, whatever.
All right, Chris, let's get to our topic. And this is just something that as I was eating breakfast today, looking at the Sideshow website on my iPad, and just seeing some of the figures that have been out for a while start to go waitlist and be low stock, and then seeing people in some of the groups and stuff just going absolutely crazy for this stuff. Now, I was going to do this in the news section, but we decided to wait just because we know we'd be talking about it here. And we've tried to been giving these updates the last couple episodes. These are now figures that I've noticed since the last time we record episode 20 that are now on waitlist or low stock or potentially waitlist full. Loki, Thor Ragnarok, Groot and Rocket, who we're going to talk about a little bit ago. They're on a waitlist now. Mark IV, I think that was one we talked about last time, but now the Gantry set's actually on waitlist as well. And within the last like 2 or 3 days, Gladiator Hulk has gone to waitlist to now waitlist full. Like, that's just crazy. I don't know if it's because of the coupons that we just talked about, Chris, but now like those values, and we could have probably included Thor on there, but as soon as Thor went waitlist, the price almost doubled. It just blew my mind. Like, literally, it's a figure that you could have gotten, and if you really wanted it, you could have ordered it. And now the fact that it's gone, you're willing to then pay double. And people were getting it. Like, people were getting double. And then some, well, maybe not necessarily double, but I saw some people paying like $370, $400, like right before they announced that the Hot Toys was going to do the reissue. And then people are just like, crap, I just paid $100 more than I needed to. And I'm like, well, you could have done that originally anyways.
It's really strange the way that that works. It's just, people, we talk about, figuring out your direction as a collector and like who you want to add to your collection and when to jump on a figure. A lot of people say get into the whole day one pre-order thing because it's like there's no need to. But for us, for me, it's like I know I want that figure. So I want to get it. I want to lock it in. I want to know that I'm going to have that figure. I don't want to play this game of dancing around. If there's figures that I'm on the fence with, yes, I'll wait. I'll wait some time to figure it out and see how my rewards points might be accumulating and that sort of thing as far as ordering from Sideshow goes. It is definitely, it has been an art form to figure out this whole ordering format. But I think it's hilarious that, it's like, oh no, he's got waitlist. And then all of a sudden the figure's value goes up $125. I can't blame the people asking that much for it.
Oh no, like this isn't us finding fault with that. It's just that mind shift of,
oh yeah.
I just, the only reason I wanted to bring it up is, and you just made the point that I was trying to make, so thank you, Chris, was knowing like what you want to do and how you want to approach it. And we're not advocating necessarily for always doing day one pre-orders, even though we have a t-shirt on TeePublic and you should go get one. Plug aside, get the figures you love. And if you're sitting waiting, and some of the figures I just pre-ordered, like, you don't know, I can't tell you, Chris, how many times over the last, like, ever since they've been announced, that I've just casually scanning them on Sideshow, or they've been on my wish list and, constantly debating and stuff. So it's not like all of a sudden I just decided like, okay, I'm going to get these. Like, I at one point or another was really looking at them, but I at the time just decided to wait. I think getting caught up in the hype of getting something that was potentially going to be then, sold out or waitlist or something like that, like, more often than not, that it usually is, it's more often than not like a decision you're going to regret. Because I think if you would have done it, you probably would have already done it, which that doesn't make any sense, but it just, financially, it doesn't make any sense. And that's definitely a play on words and a bad pun, but I don't know. This is something I think we need to kind of continue to monitor, because as a lot of these really great figures are coming out and they just keep getting better and better, and just kind of see what it does for collectors, and are collectors willing to get multiple versions of a character. I think more often than not, people are, and they are willing to, but what does it do for people that only want the best version and they might sell their old one? What does that do to having all these figures available? And is it just kind of a coincidence right now that we potentially have a film that is probably going to end up as the highest grossing movie of all time before its theatrical run is done? And is that just really driving up interest? We've talked it on some of our very early episodes. The Infinity War bump. You and I started collecting like right before Infinity War came out. And even today, I haven't looked at Captain America prices and I can't tell you how long. And we're having a good debate. I know you and Gare Bear, and we're talking about like, hey, should get Star Spangled Cap or Rescue Cap. And I was like, well, this is what I paid for Rescue Cap. And it's up like $200 from like when I was first looking at it. I'm like, God, like I would never sell it, but it just baffled my mind that was the market for that now.
I couldn't believe it because I had stopped looking for that figure a couple months ago. And I was thinking about Rescue Cap or Star Spangled Cap as, an older version, from back in the 40s. And he posted a picture of some of the sold listings lately, and they're like 450, like range. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I really missed the boat on that. But it wasn't a figure that I like felt like I needed. It was one of those secondary versions that would kind of, be cool to have a different look.
Yeah, I
But
would say if anybody was looking for an older cap, I'd say the Golden Age cap from Winter Soldier would be the one to go
yeah,
for.
yeah. So it is crazy, the pricing. It's hard to keep track of everything, like especially if you have if you found a figure and then you don't look at pricing for a while and then you go back and see what they're going for. I Some of them I just can't believe. Like the two that really stick out to me, the ones figures that I bought at retail, are the Mark V and the Mark VI diecast. Like I just, people are like asking if anybody has any Mark Sixes available, and I just look at the price. I'm like, man, I'm glad I jumped on that figure when it was available at retail, and that's why I feel like I love Iron Man. I love the aesthetic of Iron Man. Every suit that's come out since I've been collecting, I really enjoy, and that's why I kind of feel like buying an Iron diecast Iron Man is not a bad investment. But then again, I don't recommend buying stuff just for that reason. Like you got to love the character and love the look of that version. So that's why, like,
I
I'm
mean,
glad
I've said it
yeah,
multiple times before too, but I think you almost have like one of the best trinities that are available for the Iron Man 2 figures. I
yeah,
mean, 4, 5, and 6.
yeah. I mean, that's a great lineup right there.
And
And
you have the crossover from the 6 from
yep,
Iron Man 2 to Avengers. And I mean, a lot of people, myself included, can't wait for the Mark 7 to come out later this year. Maybe they'll at now they might look at, hopefully. I mean, a lot of people have been clamoring for a reissue of the Mark 1.
oh man, if they come out with a diecast Mark One, that's going to be a lot of people are going to jump on that, definitely. And I mean, I have the Mark 7 on order, and I love that look too. I really really love that look. And I think with Iron Man diecast, I know a lot of people complain that it's like, oh, it's another Iron Man, but you really can't go wrong with too many of those figures financially. And it seems like a lot of figures nowadays are, kind of either holding their value, at least on the Marvel side, are holding their value, or increasing a little bit. And it's one of those things that we kind of look at and keep track of a little bit here and there. We've touched upon it, but like I have Hella, and I've seen that for what, like 350, 375, some places maybe even more than 400. Definitely buy the figures that you really love. And I think going forward with some of these Marvel figures, it is probably better to, jump on them early, sooner than later. I don't know.
Yeah. So again, with most of our topics, we'll revisit this again, but just I thought it was timely and just things to kind of keep in mind. All right, Chris, let's get to our audio feature figure review. We're going to be talking about Groot from Avengers Infinity War MMS 475. This is the same exact figure that you're going to get with MMS 476, which included Rocket. We talked a little bit about it, but we'll get the stats here. And I went the very unconventional way to add this to my collection, where I added the single version, but the Rocket I purchased on eBay was actually came with the box that would have had Groot in it, but I only bought the Rocket figure. So
That's so messed
it's just
up.
funny how it works out.
Yeah.
Originally, wasn't sure I wanted to get it, and we'll get into just a very brief review because I know the episode's already running long. But this was one of the first, I think maybe the first figure that was pre-order announced for Avengers Infinity War, March 2nd, 2018. Had a July 19th, 2018 Hong Kong release, so very short runway for that. And it was shortly, this is one of those figures that was available early fall when people start thinking like, oh my gosh, like all the Infinity War figures are going to be early. And it just whatever happened distribution wise, it's been definitely the exception versus the rule here. So it really hasn't repeated itself since then. So the two pack had been sold originally for 345. This individually was 220. Mention it in the collection update. This is a figure, one of the Infinity War figures that's been sitting around for a while. Sideshow was offering free shipping, which is really key because that's about a $20 value. You add in the coupon that was available, really knocked the price of this figure down. So, all right, Chris, let's get into it. And like, I haven't even had a ton of, like, literally got this in the mail today. I had an opportunity to open it. I took a couple photos, sent them off to Roy. He cleaned them up, made it look like I'm a professional photographer when I'm not. I think the elephant in the room on this one, Chris, is the leg issues. And this has been pretty well documented. I'm going to be honest, it was actually a reason why I hadn't really chased this figure to date. And I'm going to be completely honest as well. I opened this figure up immediately, pulled it out just to make sure to see if the leg was attached or not, because there's some really serious leg joints that go on with this. And even talking to Steve earlier today, like, even though you get the figure intact, like, you still have to be careful when posing it that the leg could still pop off at some point. I guess the fix isn't terribly bad. You can use some super glue up in one of the joints and it really kind of takes care of it, but it's really disheartening. And a lot of our scavengers had the issue with getting it and getting it damaged. And, these things aren't cheap. And when you get something and it's already broken, I mean, talk about just,
Ugh.
it's brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I heard stories about people, three figures, and they're still, each one is broken. Like, the replacement is broken. And then they get one and it's broken. The next one's broken. And that's, again, like you said, that's a reason why I held off on this figure. But, after seeing Endgame, it's like, all right, this figure's been at the end of Guardians 2, Infinity War, and Endgame. It's like, okay, so the figure's been in three, minor, not major parts in all three movies, but has been in three movies. So it's like, okay, like, I've got the Guardians of the Galaxy 1 Groot, and like, now I've got, this one in order, fill that hole. But yeah, it's just, we don't see that very often with these figures being one particular manufacturing flaw. And a lot of people were talking about how the figure was packaged before it had cured properly. So it might have been a temperature thing with the curing process with that peg for the joint. But I don't know. I don't know if Hot Toys came out with an official release as to why that was happening. But at least Sideshow and some of the other retailers have been good with replacements.
So let's talk about accessory wise. It does come with an interchangeable, like, faceplate, I'd call it. It's not like a full separate head sculpt. One kind of has a very stoic expression. The other one kind of has like a smirking smile. Obviously comes with his little arcade tablet thing, a couple sets of hands, a rifle. I don't think he actually used a rifle in the film. I think when they cut to Wakanda, he was just using his tree limbs and stuff. So right now I have him just quickly displayed in my DTOF with holding the game, because that's pretty much what he does through the entire film. I would say detail wise, like, it's hard to tell from photos, Chris, on, how good it is. But I think getting it in hand, seeing the different textures, just the killer paint job on it, when you see it in pictures, like, yes, it's a hot toy, but can I really justify it? And is it comparable? How will it fit in with the rest of the stuff? I think it definitely is. There's even a couple little tree branches that you can include on each one of his limbs, basically, to kind of give a little bit more of a tree aesthetic. I would say also too, you got to be careful about, the joints and the limbs and stuff. I didn't really stress it all that much. I don't really intend to. I want him there for a presence in the Infinity War lineup. I think he's crucial. I do want to get him set up, flanked by Thor and Rocket, just because I love that scene, as pretty much every other fan of Marvel, and it's just like, that gets me every time when they're coming into Wakanda.
yeah, one of the most iconic MCU scenes to date, in my opinion.
I would say if I had to pay the full retail price and I also had to pay shipping, I might feel a little bit different about the figure. But taking advantage of that, I feel a lot better, about it. I kind of wish I originally just would have gotten the two pack because I think I ultimately paid, I think like 155 maybe for the rocket separately shipped. But when I factor that in, what I paid for the Groot, I still probably would have made out better if I'd gotten them combined. And I think that one was also, although we just talked about that it's gone waitlist on the site there. I think that's another one that was offering free shipping for quite a while. I think it was the combo pack, the Groot regular, and then the Black Widow figure. I think they've had free shipping for quite a while, and I think people are starting to take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's another key point is that the deal that Sideshow had. Yeah, paying 240, 250 with shipping and taxes depending on where you're located, it's kind of pushing what you're getting with this figure. But ultimately, I think, geez, with free ship, yeah, it was like
195 for me.
195. Yeah, so same for me. And I was looking at eBay sold prices and like kind of what it was going for current auctions and stuff, and they were really anywhere from 185 to like 205 on eBay, and I'm like, oh geez. Like as soon as I saw that, I'm like, I ordered it because I'm like, I know I'm gonna get a new figure, and if there are issues, I have at least Sideshow to help with that potential issue. So value wise, you don't get a ton with this figure, but I do think that, like I said, it's one of the most iconic scenes in Infinity War, let alone MCU. So it's great to have that trifecta, so to speak. I can't wait to have that set up. But yeah, I would recommend it. It says almost gone on Sideshow, and I'm wondering if this last push with Endgame and these deals and stuff, I think we'll probably see him go waitlist pretty soon. I would expect, I don't think he'll make it a month without going waitlist.
Yeah, I would agree. So, I would also caution anybody trying to buy this from a secondary market to probably not do it because of those potential leg issues and you're not protected by Sideshow. Like, I wouldn't order this anywhere other than Sideshow because if it was going to come damaged, I was going to instantly email them. And, even if they weren't going to be able to send out a replacement figure or something, is then you just try to say, okay, well, if you got a damaged figure and I got to fix it myself, can you guys like kick in a gift card or something like that? Just so, not that I would have purchased it just for that sole reason, but, I think there's opportunities sometimes too if you're going to be in a situation like that. So, Chris, let's do a review. I can't think of anything other than just saying handheld game consoles to rate it here.
How about Stormbreaker handles?
Stormbreak. All right, so you're redeeming yourself after almost 21 episodes. You've got two good ideas in a row.
There you go.
Those Stormbreaker handles. I'm gonna go 4.25 Stormbreaker handles. It's solid. I haven't really spent a ton of time with it, but I can't help but look. I've been looking at it the whole time we've been recording here, and the detail is just impeccable. The paint job is amazing. I think if we knew that the quality was a little bit better, I'd say it could rank a little higher. I think you literally have to treat this with kid gloves. Mm-hmm. And I think knowing what you've got is one of the reasons why I would knock it down. But like the look and aesthetic is there. It's key to any Infinity War ensemble lineup. And, if you're thinking about it, I was one of those that I was skeptical, not only because not sure I would enjoy the figure, but I was scared off by the leg issues. It can be overcome. Of course, we say that now, and yours might come in, and you might end up with a leg issue. You might be emailing Sideshow. It could happen.
I know. Yeah, watch. I get mine in, and then it goes waitlist, and they're like, sorry, there's no replacement. So, but no, I won't.
I will
Think
say
I'll
though,
be
and I can't remember
positive.
who I talked to, but I thought somebody had said like the later batches ended up not having the same issue that the early ones did.
Yeah, I've heard the same rumor, but I haven't heard like actual confirmation on that. I don't really know too many other people that have actually gotten this in hand, but I am excited to get it next week. I'll probably post some pics and stuff, and I'm eagerly anticipating Roy's photography job, making your stuff look good.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I was trying to get some LED light panels to come in from Amazon, and they lost my darn order. Like they still haven't been able to find it. They've refunded me in full, but now I have to go through and attempt to reorder it. Like they got lost somewhere in Kentucky of all places. So
Fun, always enjoyable dealing with that stuff.
yeah. Anyways, all right. So what is enjoyable, Chris, here is getting to the end of the episode, and let's get to plug time. We've got our still in development website, and we've got our YouTube channel. Steve and Roy and everybody have done an awesome job, Matt included, with all the different content we've got on there. It looks better. We've got our TeePublic store. In a few weeks, they're going to have another sale of our store of all of our merchandise out there. You can get the logo on a coffee mug too. We've got some really cool shirt designs that Roy's been able to put out there. We get a small fraction of any of the sales there that we're able to put towards our hosting fees, and just greatly appreciate that. We've got our public Facebook page. We're on Instagram. We've got the private group we've referenced a few different times, Six Hill Scavenger Collectors. Please answer the questions to basically show that you're a listener of either the podcast or the YouTube content. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and directly on sixscalescavengers.libsyn.com if you want to grab the RSS feed and throw it into your podcast catcher of choice. Couple quick shout outs: PJ the Paradox Nerd on YouTube, video reviews for hot toys and statues. Collecting Weekly Podcasts and their YouTube channel. Chris, what do you got about their last episode they had out there?
Okay, so Zach had the good fortune of interviewing Used a sync from Jazz Inc. Dioramas. He's been on their show a couple times, and so Jazz Inc. Dioramas has got this pretty crazy thing going on. He is planning on building a 6 scale Batmobile from Batman vs Superman, and he's in early development with that, and he's looking for people willing to put a deposit. But man, I listened to that interview and looked at his video of the 3D renderings of that thing, and it looks BA, and I'm not. It makes things very tempting to at least get a Batman Hot Toys figure, because it's going to be big enough in the cockpit to fit a Hot Toys figure in there. So
Wow.
definitely check out that interview and Jazz Inc. Diorama's YouTube channel as well. Yeah, some really cool stuff going on there.
All right, and last but not least, check out John Martino's Tashi Station 1/6 to Full Scale Collectors Facebook group. They're running contests all the time. And one of the few other groups out there other than Collecting Weekly that we will definitely plug. They have a great community there, very similar to ours, much larger scale than ours, but they still do great stuff over there. All right, Chris, we are at the end of the episode. We're at the end game of episode 21, and there's more to come. We got tons of content on the way. Scavengers Assemble, Rogue 1/6, and yeah, just more to come.
Content.
Well, we
Yeah.
love doing it. Editing these things is therapeutic to me. This is the only show that we have that I actually give it the full 2 or 3 times as long as it takes to listen to it to edit, just because it's been the flagship and what started it all. I think everybody kind of referring to us as the co-founders, that just it's mind-boggling.
It is. It's crazy, and things just keep growing, and we love it. We love getting more members to the group, more listeners, more watchers on YouTube, it's great, and I love the conversations that are going on, and they're just going to keep going. We have lots and lots to talk about.
All right, Chris, bring us home.
Excelsior.